Okay, welcome traders to our post-week market review. So what we're going to be doing in this is we're going to be going over the entire week and have a look what has happened for gold. So as you can see from this bearish candlestick here, we did see a bearish start to the week with the Sunday open, the first hour candlestick being extremely bearish. We then saw some consolidation around this area with price then dropping at the same sort of volume inside the candlestick as we saw on the market open. This was all in the early hours of Monday. And then as you can see, we started to see some consolidation throughout that New York session. And then we sort of just we saw low volume and low volatility with price sort of ranging in between this sort of level here. So if I just sort of drag our path real quick, you can see that we just sort of had this consolidation area where price was testing roughly at the same area multiple times. So after that, we then saw a bearish move once again with price dropping through this sort of bottom side support that was found at around 3,220. We saw a bearish push with price finding support on one of our points of interest that we have marked in at around 3,126. So from the start of the market, and this is Thursday, by the way, pre-London session. So for the start of the gold market, as you can see, we did actually see a continuation of this bearish momentum. If I was to go ahead and go to our hour 4, you can see this in a little bit of a clearer way. You can see that we definitely saw some bearish momentum, and that was what we saw for the rest of the week pretty much until Thursday. If I go back to our hour 1 now, if you have a look after the Thursday, so sort of we saw this push from Monday to Thursday. We saw this bearish push, some consolidation in between, and then continuation to creating lower lows and lower highs. We then sort of crept closer and closer to the Thursday London session open, and then at 8 o'clock/9 o'clock we then saw a bullish impulse. You did see some sort of bullish momentum pushing price up pre-London session, and then once the London session kicked in, we then saw that continuation. As you can see, the volume and the strength of this bullish move was significant. You can see that there are very few bearish candlesticks, any candlesticks that finished bearish in this bullish move until obviously we topped off and found this resistance. But as you can see, we then sort of had a bullish move with price coming into this same sort of range as you can see here. So if I go ahead and grab a rectangle real quick and just sort of mark in this range that price was trading in, and I'll go ahead and mark that in a blue. So its price sort of crept back into this area. We started testing on the lower, if you see these smaller rectangle boxes, they're our lower time frame points of interest. So with that being said, we're going to go down to our minute 15 and just have a closer look. So as you can see, the initial push we ended up rejecting off of this area of around 3,230. Price then dropped back down to test a bottom side support of the beginning of this range, and then price sort of kept going and then found resistance at our level of around 3,250. Price then broke through with creating a break and retest pattern on the lower time frames, with price then testing previous support as a resistance, or a previous level as a resistance. Obviously we had our break of structure, and then we had another break of structure to the downside. Price came back up to test this point of interest as a resistance, with then a continuation of bearish momentum. Again, as you can see, since that bullish move came to a halt, we then saw another continuation where we found support at around the level of around 3,155. Price since then, and then sort of for the rest of the Friday, so as you can see, sort of pre-London session, and then throughout London session all the way through up until New York session, we saw a bearish move all the way down, and that was the start of the day. That was the start of our Friday. However, as you can see, once the New York session came into effect, you can see here at around 1:30, 2 o'clock, you can see that the bullish move did start to take place, and that has how we have finished. That's how we finished this week in the market. We finish it on a sort of bullish impulse. You can see that obviously lower time frame. Let's go to our minute 5 and go ahead and grab a path real quick. You can see that we sort of have a higher high followed by a higher low, a higher high, higher low. If I can just move this out of the way real quick, a higher low, higher high, or sort of equal high, higher low, and then a higher high, higher low. So what we could see lower time frame is this could be the start of a considerable or a significant bullish move. If we go back down to our hour again, you can see that we are sort of still testing after this considerable bearish push. As you can see, price has been significantly bearish on the lower time frames as of right now, and we are still waiting for that new all-time high to be hit. As you can see, we see the same sort of thing happening here. We can see the same sort of thing happening here as sort of happened here. You see that big bullish move, and then you see sort of price start to move sideways. We create some lower lows before price then picks some volatility up, and we get some bullish volume inside the markets, and then we see that final push creating a new all-time high. If we go to our 4 hour real quick and just have a look at the higher time frames and delete some of these drawings. So as you can see, we are sort of in that lower low area. So for example, if you see here, we had this, so we had the bullish move, and then we sort of price starts to consolidate. Then we see the same thing here. We see bullish move, and then price started to consolidate, and we're sort of at this area here, as around this area now. So look, if for example you can see that we sort of create a lower low right before the next push, it's the same sort of thing all throughout the market. This is just how gold reacts. You can see that once you see that significant push to the upside, price then starts moving sideways. You then have a lower low created, and then price continues on bullish. So with that being said, that is sort of what we're seeing in this same area. So obviously where I've just drawn in, you can see that we have that final lower low created before price then pushes up. So if price is to follow suit with this price, with this sort of pattern that we've established, price most likely will start driving up. We will start seeing price drive up to that top side. Obviously, there are a couple points within the market that we are going to want to take into account. For example, you can see that we have this sort of strong level of support, which was the sort of beginning, that's that consolidation that we was just talking about. Obviously, if I go real quick just back to our hour one, this is that consolidation. Obviously on the 4 hour you're going to see less of it, it's less candlesticks. The 4 hour time frame is 4 hour candlesticks, so you're only going to see, you know what a 4 hour candlestick is. You're in this game for a reason. And as you can see, if I go ahead and sort of mark in this level here, you can see that there is a level that is a strong support level as well. And obviously the original bullish push, sort of, if I was to go to lower time frames, you'd be able to see this in a bit of a clearer way, but you can see that that sort of level has been respected multiple times as both a support and a resistance. For example, you can see that we've tested multiple times at this level as a support. We've also tested it as a resistance, we tested it as a support, a resistance, and then sort of this area here and this area here, testing it as a resistance again. So what we're sort of looking for now is that it is the start of that bullish push. And if we go back down to our minute 15, you can see that at the beginning, at the beginning of the New York session, on the Friday, you can see that price did actually push up, then obviously closing at 10 p.m. GMT. I apologize for the background sound. So yeah, it seems that this is sort of the start of this bullish push that we're looking for. So obviously that's only taking into account these previous patterns. So you see price push up, you see price push, and then you sort of see price start to move sideways, and then we see a lower low created with then the push taking place from there. And the same sort of pattern is starting to take place, where remember, nothing is 100% in the markets, and this might not play out the same way as it normally does. With that being said, we could end up seeing price sort of come back up to this level here, at around 3,270, and we could just see sort of something like this. So we see price come up, we could see it just completely drop and then go and test previous lows. Normally, the lower low is created on a previous resistance of the last consolidation area. So for example, if you look at this area here and I sort of have a look at this resistance that's found, you can see somewhat, if I drag it sort of wick to wick, you can see that this resistance that was found after that was obviously a our all-time high created, and then price moved sideways. We had our lower low, and then price continued on up. And then you can see that price has actually tested this area of previous resistance, so a previous all-time high being where the lower low actually finds support. And if we go ahead and drag in the resistance from the previous all-time high of the last consolidation block where we saw our lower low created, and just sort of grab it from wick all the way down and just catch the entire resistance, so you can see that we're catching that entire area, we're catching all the exhausted wicks, and then we're just sort of looking over. As you can see, we have tested on a previous all-time high before the lower low is created, so exactly the same thing, exactly the same pattern that we are seeing here in comparison to here. It never really works out like 100% of the time. Obviously, as you can see, the lower low for this area was just sort of tested on a previous support and resistance. Nothing too significant as significant as these two, but with that being said, we are seeing some sort of pattern start here. So with that being said, we have currently respected the previous all-time high as support. And when I say previous all-time high, obviously the previous all-time high or most recent all-time high is this level here, but we're talking about price pushing up, starting to consolidate, creating a lower low, and then pushing up, breaking through the last all-time high, and this is the area that we're talking about here. Obviously, eventually, if we see price continue bullish, and we sort of see this same pattern take place, we're going to see price push up, create a new all-time high, and then probably start creating a lower low somewhere around this area, with price then continuing on bullish, creating another all-time high, and so on and so forth. But remember, patterns are only patterns. You can never really rely on patterns. Obviously, there's a lot more things that you want to take into account, but this is sort of what we're looking at now. So we're looking at for this next week, and we're hoping that it does do this. We could still see a price come back down to this level a few more times. We could sort of see some consolidation at this level with price moving sideways at this level, but I think that will be the last lower low for gold as of right now. So what we are expecting to see is we're expecting to see, so if I just zoom in real quick, we are expecting to see sort of from this level here, obviously as we saw throughout the New York session on Friday, we saw a bullish move. So we are seeing on the lower time frames a sort of a bullish start to this potential move. So what in relation to these previous patterns that we can see, what we're expecting or anticipating for the market to do is sort of continue bullish. The first level that we're going to be taking into account is this level of 3,270, because as you can see marked in with these sort of drawings that we just did, you can see that that level is a strong point within the markets that has tested both as a support and resistance on a higher time frame. Remember, the higher the time frame, the stronger the information. So with that being said, that's the first level we're going to pay attention to, around 3,270, give or take. If we see this price, this psychological level broken through, then we're sort of looking for a few more levels that are marked in, obviously on our hour one. Let's go to hour one real quick. So we're looking at these minor and lower levels here that we have marked in. So as you can see, we have levels here that is tested on the lower time frames as both support and resistance, and we're just sort of looking for those levels to be broken through. But the main level that we're going to be worrying about for us to be like, okay, this bullish move is a lot more likely, is that level around here of around 3,270. If we see that take place, then we're just going to be watching all our lower time frame points of interest and waiting for the market to continue on. Once we see that bullish move, and once we start clearing these levels out with no problem, we will definitely be anticipating a new all-time high for gold. But obviously throughout next week it would be quite hard for gold unless we just sort of see a straight bullish impulse to the upside. It will be hard for gold to get to that point of either testing the previous all-time high or creating a new one. So the most likely scenario for next week is going to be a continuation of this bullish momentum that we saw start on our Friday from the New York session, and then price sort of come in to consolidate somewhere around this area here. So we could end up finding resistance here, we could see a higher low, we see a higher high and a higher lows created, we could in fact see some consolidation. There's a lot of scenarios that could take place, but as of right now we are looking at that overall bullish scenario as a more probable move in comparison to a bearish move. But remember, the market is never 100%, and the market always wins. So we could actually see a bearish flip here. We could completely see price plummet, and we could start testing at the levels that we have marked in here. So there's a lot to take into account for next week. However, we have to go off of the price action and the analysis that we can do as of right now, and the start of our Friday throughout New York session was a bullish move. We're taking into account this 4-hour pattern that we have discovered, where price consolidates after pushing to a new all-time high, creates a lower low on a previous all-time high, and then continues on creating a new all-time high. And as you can see, when that does happen, it's not as easy as said. Like for example here, you can see price push up, cool, we had a bullish move, and then price moved sideways before pushing up further. And the same thing here, you can see price pushed up, and then obviously lower time frames here, you can see we had some sort of consolidation, price continues. So that's sort of overall what we're expecting for this next week. We will obviously lock back in on our Monday. What I'm going to do is I'm going to continue with the normal technical analysis video, but I'm going to go ahead and record it and post it sort of late New York session around 6-7 p.m. GMT. just so we can let the market play out and let this and see if this bullish move from the end of Friday throughout the New York session is going to continue, and then we can reanalyze the markets and really see what's going on. So with all that being said, that's our post-week market analysis. I hope you've all enjoyed. I hope you like this sort of switch up that I've done rather than posting just the standard end of week technical analysis. I thought gold was quite interesting this week and what it's done, obviously taking into account that hour 4 pattern as well. And I just wanted to go over things as a whole rather than just marking up a few days. So again, with all that being said, that is going to be our post-week market analysis or review. We have a lot of expectations for gold next week, but remember, we will be tapping in another 3 times next week. Next week, I will continue the the start of week, midweek, and end of week technical analysis as normal. If you do want to switch up, if you would rather not have the end of week technical analysis, and you'd rather me do a sort of the same sort of thing as I've done today, then absolutely drop a comment below and let me know. Also, in regards to a start of week technical analysis, if you'd like me to let the market play out a little bit, what I can do is I can switch up the midweek and the start of week, and instead of the midweek being a write-up, I can make the start of week a write-up, and then the midweek analysis to be an actual video, which might actually be good for us, as we can let a few more days play themselves out, and then really go over the market. But yeah, that's going to be our post-market weekly review. Once again, I hope you have all enjoyed. A new sort of change style of video, but yeah, I hope you have all enjoyed. Remember, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and if you haven't already, don't forget to join our VIP by visiting our Telegram bot at GSIO admin bot, or visit our website goldsignals.io. The link will be at the end of this video or in the description below, so go ahead and check us out there. We have a lot of exciting things to offer, and yeah, I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I will definitely be catching you in the next one. Peace.